Hey, I want to start out with a little story here. And I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but about 10 years ago, there was a 16-year-old girl named Jessica Sanchez from Chula Vista. Anybody remember that name? Dave Matringa does. She was a finalist in American Idol. And she was 16, and on the day that she was performing for the finals, all of San Diego had their TVs tuned on, watching her. She got altogether 20 million votes, which was second place. I thought that was pretty interesting, but I read the article, and what I read was even more interesting, because her entire life had been in preparation for that night. When she was 10 years old, she played at the Apollo Theater in New York. When she was 11, they got her on America's Got Talent. Along the way, she had coaches and agents and image consultants and fashion advisors and publicists and consultants to tell her what people liked, what was hot, what was trending, how to act on stage, how to act off stage, what causes to support and what causes to avoid. Also, she could compete in America's biggest popularity contest. And she got acclaim, and she got newspaper coverage, and she got magazine covers, I'm sure, and interviews. And I thought about that, popularity, and it made me think about another young person similar to her many, many years ago. This young man was also good looking, smart, really talented. The Bible describes him as, quote, good looking, intelligent in every way, without defect, having great, oh, I'm sorry, that's what somebody wrote about me. No, you laugh. That hurts. That hurts. It hurts more every year, because he's good looking, intelligent in every way, without defect, having great ability and talent. He was also surrounded by opportunities for great advancement and acclaim. He was given trainers, he was given teachers, he was given a special diet, and all of it to prepare him for an audition before the king of Babylon. He was also given a new name, a new Babylonian name for his new identity. And if he went along with it, if he just fit in and played the game, he'd be on the gravy train to fame and riches. How many of you know who I'm talking about? Somebody knows. Daniel. His name was Daniel. Let's read it. Daniel 1:3-7. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, Gesundheit, the chief of his officials, to bring some of the sons of Israel, including some of the royal families and the nobles, youths in whom there was no defect, who were good-looking, showing intelligence in every branch of wisdom, endowed with understanding and discerning knowledge, and who had ability for serving the king's court. So these were Israelites, Jewish young men that had been captured in the fall of Jerusalem and taken to serve, hopefully, in the king's court. The king appointed for them a daily ration from the king's choice food and from the wine which he drank, and appointed that they should be educated 3 years, and at the end of which they were to enter the king's personal service. Now among them from the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Then the commander of the officials assigned new names to them. Daniel he assigned Belshazzar, to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So that's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I thought it was funny. I'm losing you guys. We're just getting started. Okay, so the whole story of Daniel is the story, if you've read it, many of you I'm sure have, the whole book is about how Daniel stayed faithful to the Lord, how he did not get corrupted or he did not pursue the ways of Babylon, even when it cost him dearly. And in this first chapter, it begins that story. We're not going to go into it, but how he resisted even as a young man, at great threat to himself, what they were trying to do. He sought to honor God fully. So let's just go to verse 9 and verse 17. Now, God granted Daniel, because he did not conform to the ways of the Babylonians in order to gain popularity or standing, God gave him favor. So God granted Daniel favor and compassion in the sight of the commander of the officials. And as for these four youths, the four we just mentioned, God gave them knowledge and intelligence in every branch of literature and wisdom. Daniel even understood all kinds of visions and dreams. And so because he honored God, God gave him favor. And along with this favor, he helped Daniel and all his friends with all of their endeavors so that they would succeed and they would stand out by God's help. Now, Jessica Sanchez conformed all of her personality, her appearance, and all of her ways to conform to what the world thought was popular and what the world wanted. Daniel lived out an authentic inner integrity of his love towards Jesus. So Daniel lived from the inside out. So many other people live from the outside in. They change who they are. They, depending on what group they're with, and they alter it all in order to gain acceptance, favor, and personality. So for all her efforts, Jessica did receive great popularity, applause, interviews. I don't think she made it music. That's my understanding. It didn't go real far past this. But Daniel, on the other side, lived out of this inner integrity to the Lord. And what did he receive? Favor. So what I want to talk about tonight is the difference between popularity and favor. Daniel made the decision to pursue favor. And as a reward, as a result, he received it. Now, which is the better goal? Don't answer, because probably almost everybody here knows the right answer. You know what I think is the right answer. But what's most important for you? Would you rather have popularity and riches, or would you rather have God's favor, divine favor? Which is better? Well, the pull to be popular and accepted is huge in our culture. People choose their clothes and their morals and their behaviors. People even choose what church they go to. I mean, everything is on the basis of what will make me more popular, what will give me more friends. But God's favor is something that's not as well understood as popularity. We all know what it's like to be unpopular someplace. I don't care who you are, you've gone someplace and nobody knew who you were or cared, right? And we all know what it's like to be popular. We all know it feels better to be popular. But most people don't understand favor and why it's better. So let's look at it. What is favor? I'm going to put a couple of up there. Favor is when you receive preferential treatment. That's pretty good, isn't it? It means that when your request goes to the top of the pile, when your request for something is looked at first, when you're just preferred, you get to move to the front of the line. Favor is also when you're shown exceptional kindness. So there's great patience if you make a mistake. There's kindness. People put the best construction on what you did. And they even show you affection. You just know that you're welcome and loved. That's favor. It means you're in a privileged position. You are in the driver's seat. You're in what they call the catbird seat. I don't really know what that means, but how many of you guys have heard of the catbird seat? One person in this whole room. When I say you're in the catbird seat, one person's heard of that. You heard of it? But you're just too shy. Be proud. Okay. Oh, maybe there's a few other people who didn't put their hands up. Proverbs 22:1 says this. Favor is better than silver or gold. How can that be? Because God's favor can bring you everything that silver and gold can bring you, plus everything that silver and gold cannot bring you. Like peace, like fulfillment, like love, like joy. You know, you can do a survey and you can see all the rich celebrities and all those people and find out how little joy and happiness, if you really do a survey, they have in their life, how messed up their marriages and their families are. But favor can bring you everything that God can, everything that gold can, plus everything it can. Now, here's the big question. Does God really favor some people over others? In other words, does God have favorites? Now, a lot of people would struggle with that idea, thinking, no, God doesn't have favorites. God's fair. He doesn't favor some over others. Well, God offers salvation and forgiveness to everybody who calls upon the name of the Lord, regardless of who you are or what your background was. God offers that free and fully to everybody. But God also has special favor that he shares to those people who follow him with a whole heart, who engage God with a whole heart, who want to please God and know God. Now, favor is not like favoritism. Favoritism is a bad thing. Can we all agree? What favoritism means is I take this, maybe it's going to this person, and I take it away and I give it to one of my friends or relatives, even though they might be less deserving. And that's favoritism. But God never plays favoritism. God never acts unjustly. In that case, you unjustly take really what should go to another person and you give it to somebody because they're your friend or they're related to you. God never does that. God treats everyone justly. Nobody gets less than what they deserve, if I could put it that way. But God gives extra favor to those who seek him. Here's the other thing. When you think about favoritism, you think it involves the idea that you have to take something away from this person in order to give it to somebody. Like if I talk to people and I grew up in a family and they're resentful of a sister or brother because they were the favorites. And well, that's because a mom and dad only has so much time, so much love, so much money. And if they showered on this person, it means there's not enough to go around to the others. But see, God's not like that. God has infinite love. God can pour out oceans of love on even one individual, and it doesn't even diminish the universe full of love he still has for everybody else. So God never has to, if God puts his favor on somebody, A, it's never unjust, and B, it never hurts anyone else. But it's interesting to know, everyone who accepts Jesus and follows Jesus has God's favor on them. If you're a follower of Jesus Christ, God's favor rests on you. But we can grow in God's favor. So I have God's favor, but the exciting, and what's the favor? It's preferential treatment. It's special, exceptional kindness. It's a privileged position. So I have that to a degree just because I'm a Christian, but I can grow in that. Listen to what it says about Samuel. 1 Samuel 2:26. Now the boy Samuel was growing in stature and in favor with both the Lord and with men. And so he was growing in favor. He was not only growing in stature, physical stature, he was growing in favor with God and men. As he grew up, he made choices and set priorities that caused God's favor to rest increasingly on him, that he got to know the favor of God more and more. He had favor, but then he acted in such a way as to get more favor. Look what it says about Jesus, Luke 2:52. And Jesus kept increasing in wisdom and in stature and in favor with both God and man. It's interesting, isn't it? He's part of the Trinity. He's part of the Godhead. So he obviously came to earth with great favor, but even he increased his favor by the choices and decisions he made as a man, but also favor with God and man. And if you seek God's favor and you live to please God and you enjoy favor, it will generally also mean you have more favor with people. They'll respect you more. They'll see the success, the strength, the confidence, the patience, the love that's in your life. Daniel, who we were looking at, he demonstrates this idea of growing in favor and having favor with, therefore, with not only God, but favor with man. Daniel 6:3. Then Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and the satraps because an excellent spirit was in him. He distinguished himself because an excellent spirit was in him. And so the king thought of setting him over the whole realm. You see, as Daniel was faithful to God in all things, as Daniel sought to please God, he developed an excellent spirit. And because he had an excellent spirit, the king wanted to promote him above everyone. So, seeking God with all of his heart gave him an excellent spirit, and he grew in favor with God and man. Now, what is an excellent spirit? Well, the answer to that is I have a whole message on it. But what I will do is I'll give you a really short definition, biblical definition of what I think an excellent spirit is. 1 Corinthians 11:1. Be imitators of me, Paul says, just as I also am of Christ. To me, an excellent spirit is someone that wants to imitate Christ, imitate the Apostle Paul. You know, a lot of times today you have people criticize Paul. Well, you know, he's an old guy, has old views, you know. No, he was an apostle of Jesus Christ. He imitated Christ. So an excellent spirit is one that seeks to emulate not only Jesus, but other excellent people that you meet. You know, spiritually, people that you think are excellent, and so you learn from them, and you grow. Now, I want to talk about, quickly, 4 ways to grow in God's favor. Would you like to grow in God's favor? You all realize you have favor, but you can grow in it. Favor is a really good thing. It'd be great to have the favor of a rich person. It'd be great to have the favor of the president. But the favor of God is so much better. So Psalm 147, verse 11. The Lord favors those who fear him. Simple formula. The more we fear the Lord, the more his favor rests on us. Now, when you think about favor, think about words like reverence and deference. That means you seek to please him above anyone else. Like the last person in the world that you would want to disappoint would be God. That means you fear him, you reverence him. You regard his views above anyone else. Like first you go to his word to find out what truth is. Find out what's up. And as you do that, you grow in his favor. The second thing is Proverbs 11:27. It says, he who diligently seeks good seeks favor. So if you want God's favor, seek good. Promote good. Do good. Celebrate things that are good. Support things that are good. Don't support things that are evil. Don't love things that are evil. Decide to always do the right thing over the easy thing. Just, you know, if I want to have favor, I'm going to make it my ambition to always try to do the right thing. Even if a lot of my friends are doing something else, or even if it's not the unpopular, or even it's just a lot harder. But I'm going to endeavor to do the right thing. Why? Because my reward is the favor of God. God puts his favor on people that love good and do good. Number 3. Proverbs 13:14-15. The teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, to turn aside from the snares of death. And then good understanding produces favor. When we listen to and heed good teaching, that's teaching truth and wisdom, we find favor. Proverbs 8:35 says, when we find wisdom, we obtain favor from the Lord. I want to share with you, I guess I got it on the screen. I want to share with you, like, one of my favorite definitions I like to use about wisdom. I mean, you can't define wisdom with one definition, but I like this one. And that is that, where'd it go? Wisdom is the understanding that allows you to live life in such a way that you are always surrounded by the favor and the blessings of God. Do you know that if you know God's word, you know how to live in such a way that you'll always be surrounded by God's favor and blessing? That doesn't mean you won't have hard times, but you'll go through those hard times with God's favor and blessing. That's so much better than going through it without those things. Wisdom allows you to understand how the world that God made works. A lot of people apparently don't have any idea how the world works because they live their life in such a way that they self-destruct and the relationships break up and all those kinds of things. There might be one person here, but there was a song, a guy named, forget his name, but he sang it, Against the Wind. You guys ever heard that? Against the wind? I'm always thinking, man, turn around, you idiot. I'm still running against the wind. You know, like he thought it was a great thing. Like, I'm a rebel. I'm running against the wind. Well, you're not going to get anywhere. You moron, turn around. Run with the wind. And that's what, if you follow God's ways, you're running with the wind. You're in line with the principles that God has set out for the world. He created the world. There's physical principles. There's spiritual principles. Wisdom is learning those principles so that you're going with the wind. You're being benefited from God's spiritual principles about life rather than having them slap you upside the head. Number 4, and the last one, talks about representing Jesus even in the midst of opposition. 1 Peter 2:19 and 20, for this finds favor from God, if for the sake of conscience towards God, a person bears up under sorrows, even when suffering unjustly. So even when people are treating you and putting pressure on you and punishing you, because of your conscience, which says, I'm going to follow God, you bear up. You take it. You don't crumble. You don't give in. You don't turn around and follow them. But if when you do what is right and suffer for it, you patiently endure it, this finds favor with God. So being willing to identify with Jesus at all times, to live out his will and his purposes, even when it's difficult. This is loyalty to Jesus Christ. If I follow the teachings of Christ, even when it costs me something, that's loyalty. And that gains God's favor. John 15:18, Jesus said, if the world hated me, it will hate you. The spirit of Christ and the spirit of the world do not mix well at all. They're not compatible. And it says in John, the 1st chapter, that the light shone in the darkness, but the darkness could not overcome it or could not apprehend it, depending on the translation you had, could not absorb it. In other words, the Spirit of Jesus came into the world, and the world couldn't make Jesus compatible with the world system. It couldn't absorb it. Now, if you have, and so they attacked him and killed him. Now, if you have the Spirit of Jesus in you, if you have the light of God in you, then the world's not going to be able to totally absorb you. It won't be able to digest you. And if it can't digest you, if it can't absorb you, if it can't make you fit into it and go along with it, then it's going to attack you. What happens in your body if you can't digest something that you've eaten? You can't tolerate it. What does it do? It tries to spit you out of its body. You vomit it out. And so if the world can't get us to agree with it, then there's going to be ramifications from that. Now, the world likes to call Christians intolerant, but I think that's not true. I don't think Christians are intolerant. Here's what I think it is. I think the world can't tolerate us. You know, like I have some, what do we call them dietary intolerances. Like I don't tolerate things well. A lot of you guys have that too. Not allergies, but my body doesn't tolerate it well. And the world system doesn't tolerate us well if we're following Jesus. And so that's where the intolerance comes from. A lot of people think, you'll hear Christians say, well, Christians are they're so mean, and they're so this and they're so that, and no wonder non-Christians don't like that. I just don't agree with that. I think that, like, the unsaved, the worldly spirit, the spirit of the world, it doesn't just like us when we screw up. I mean, it doesn't just hate us when we do something mean. It hates us when we get it right. I mean, it hated Jesus. How many people in here think you could be more loving and more patient and more wise in dealing with people than Jesus? And they crucified him. So there's got to be a sense in which we don't always find the fault in the church. The reason the world isn't coming to the church, the reason Christians are unpopular, is because Christians are intolerant and mean. No, that's what the world says. That's not what I find. But they don't tolerate us. That's the problem, is that we have absorbed a foreign body into the world called Jesus Christ. It's like something has been introduced into the world that the world has a hard time tolerating until it repents. So I don't want to go on and on, but our main point isn't to make the world like us. Our main purpose is so that the world might come to its senses and accept Jesus. That's the main thing we're supposed to do, I remember when I was young, people would always say to me, I like you. You're not like other Christians. And I think, I'm exactly like other Christians, You just don't know any Christians. You just have this image of Christians that you create in your head or you've heard from someone else. But I think I'm just like all the other Christians. I think you'd like all my friends. I think you think all the people I'm in church with, I think you'd think they're great. They may not agree with all your thoughts or your values or your politics or whatever, but I think you'd like them. But I'm getting off my notes, as David would say. Now, we get the reward we seek. We either seek popularity, maybe we'll get popularity, but it's fleeting, or we'll seek favor, and we can have God's favor. Now, even if you live surrounded by wickedness like we do, especially in Southern California, and even if there's a lot of darkness, you can still walk in God's favor. See, wherever you live, you can still enjoy the favor of the Lord. You can walk in fellowship with him. You can have the Lord's face turned, his face beaming on you, his favor. Again, that doesn't mean you won't have hard times. It means that even when you go through a difficult time, even when something bad happens, you'll still have God's grace and God's love and God's encouragement, God's support, and God will be working out an answer for you. Think about Noah. Noah lived when the world was really dark. But look at what it says about Noah. Genesis 6:8. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Despite how wicked and degenerate that world was, bloodthirsty, he still found favor. He could still live in such a way that he found favor. God blessed him. God saved him. He was a friend of God. Why do so many Christians need the approval and the popularity of a fallen world? Why is it that so many people that say that they're Christians, you see them out at work or you see them at school or see them somewhere else and you're like, wow. Or how about this way? Do you ever know somebody for years at school or somewhere and then you go somewhere and you find out they're a Christian? And you almost like fall over? Like maybe you see them at Future Quest or something. You go like, oh, you're a Christian? Wow, you wear a good disguise, mostly. Why is it that Christians need the approval and the popularity of a fallen world so much? Do you know how much better our churches would be if every church and every person in the church and every pastor of every church, if they would just pursue God's favor rather than the acceptance of the world? Wow. Do you know how much happier Christians would be if they came to church and instead of wondering about how many people are going to talk to me and how popular will I be and how are people going to be treating me or I think that person is ignoring me, how much happier if they came to church just wanting to please God and seek God's favor? I mean, how much happier would they be? And That's what Daniel did. Daniel chose the path of always seeking God's favor. No matter who you are, no matter what circumstances you are under, you can always seek and find God's favor. I want to read you one verse, Matthew 6:6. It says, Jesus says, but when you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Where you want to start off is developing an inner life with God, where you are in pursuit of knowing him, where you spend time alone with him in pursuit of him, praying, reading your Bible in secret. So many people come to church just to see their friends. You know, if I ask people like, what do you like best about going to church? Oh, I like to see my friends. How many know that's what most people would say? But how much happier would they be if they went to church to meet with God? And matter of fact, if they went to church to please God, if they said, you know, I'm not going to like count how many people say hi to me. I'm not going to get bent out of shape if nobody says hi. I'm just going to go to church and add value. I just want to go to the fellowship or to common ground, and I just want to make God's presence more real. I want other people to feel more loved. I just want to serve God. Man, our church services would be so much better. Our church life would be so much better. So you can start that. You guys are going on a retreat on Friday, but you can start this tonight or tomorrow. You can start, if you're not doing it already, just setting some time just between you and God. And it can be hard when you start out. This is something you're growing. It's like anything. You get better at it. Pretty soon you miss it, you know. It doesn't take long before if you don't have that time, you miss it. It becomes a favorite time of the day. But find a time to just pursue God and seeking him and investing time in it. And then you'll receive the reward, which is favor. It says here, it says that your Father who sees in secret will what? Did you catch that? Put it back up there, if you would. But when you go and shut the door, pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. There's a reward when you seek him in secret. There's favor that comes upon your life. I want to just finish up with these last couple of words. Celebrity, we live in a time of celebrity culture. Everybody wants to be a celebrity. Everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody wants to blow up on their podcast or whatever they're doing. People are living for celebrity. They're living for popularity. If they don't get it, they die. But the world doesn't need more celebrities. You know that? It needs people who can carry God's presence. People who have God's favor and can bring God's light and love and encouragement wherever they go. I don't want to be mean, but the world doesn't need more Jessica Sanchez's giving up their whole life to pursue popularity and acclaim. The world needs more Daniels who can bring God's favor. Now, some people work really hard to develop a public image. You know, whether it's just among their friends or an online profile image. People work really, really hard. Others work hard to develop an inner life with God, a life of an authentic life lived before Jesus with integrity. And everybody has a choice 50 times a week. Am I going to live for my reputation, or am I going to live for my image? Am I going to look for the effect on people? Am I going to live according to how people are treating me, or how many responses I got? Or am I going to live for my inner walk with God? Let me say a prayer. Would you join me? Heavenly Father, we want to just thank you that you favor us, that you loved us. You loved us so much that you sent your only Son, Jesus. We want to thank you that your favor is on us. But Lord, we want to grow in your favor. Lord, I just want to say, I want to apologize for myself for the times that I didn't pursue your favor. When I get distracted and when I let other things rise up, just take too much of my focus, and I lose my focus from you. Because, Lord, you're the greatest thing that ever happened. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. You're the best thing that ever happened to us. Encourage us, Lord, to seek you. And, Lord, I want to pray that you meet with these young people at this retreat in a powerful way, Lord. I want to say one thing. Amen. I want to say one thing. When you go on this retreat, don't go up there with the attitude that you're going to keep score of who talked to you and who didn't talk to you, and did you get to sit at the table you wanted, or was there no chairs there, or who ignored you, or you know what I mean? Why don't you just go there? I'm going to pursue God, and I'm going to add value. I'm going to find, if nobody talks to me, I'm going to talk to somebody. If there's nothing to do, I'm going to find a way to help. Maybe I help in the kitchen or whatever. My purpose is to add value. My purpose is to serve. My purpose is to grow. And if you do that, you'll experience the favor of God while you're up there. Let's have David back up here.
That's a challenging word. It's a good word. Will you guys stand up? What I'd like to do is give you a little bit of instruction, and then we're going to enter into worship. But that way, hopefully I don't have to interrupt anymore. I want to encourage you to respond in a few different ways. You guys have those papers on your chairs. If you don't have one, I'm going to leave a bunch of extras on this podium here. Some of you recognize, man, I've been running after popularity. And I think that's a term that we're like, oh, we're out of high school. We don't do that anymore. But we just phrase it differently now. That desire, that longing to fit in and to be successful and to have those people accept you and bring you in, that never goes away. It's something I battle with. And if you recognize, man, you've been running after that more so than running after the favor of God, then I would encourage you to get prayer. And so in a minute, we're going to have our ministry team below the screen like we typically do, and just go and get prayer and say, Lord, I want to seek your face. I want to pursue the reward that you have for me. I want to look to please you, and get some prayer. I would ask this also. What we want to do, and this you could respond over the next 15 minutes, so as you feel led. But we want to encourage people to take a minute and to think about what is the prayer right now in your life. What is the thing you're seeking from God? If you could say, God, if you can meet me in this way, if you could come and answer this prayer, if you could provide this breakthrough, what is that? And specifically in regards to retreat, if you're like, Lord, I'm really praying that you meet with me at retreat in this way. Could you show up and answer this prayer? Can you teach me this thing? Whatever your prayer is in your walk with the Lord right now, especially if you could frame it in a way, Lord, at the retreat, we want to encourage you to write that prayer down on that card. And then during our worship time, whether that be the first song or the second song, we want to encourage you to, at some point, come up and give that prayer to the Lord and lay it down at the stage. What we're going to do, I want to be clear so there's no surprises. We're going to take those cards and we're going to put them all on a board and bring them up to the retreat. That's the prayer board. That's what we're praying for. And so I want to tell you that because I want it to be personal. I want it to be intimate. But if you want to keep it anonymous, that's fine. But I want to encourage everyone, even if you're not going to the retreat, there's something right now in your life where you're like, man, this is where I need to meet with the Lord. This is what I want him to answer in my life. This is what I'm looking for him to do. Write it down and at a step of obedience and faith and trust, come and lay that down. So I'm going to give you a couple ways to respond. You're laying down cards. You're going to get prayer. If I could have a couple ministry team members head to the screen now. Or you're just worshiping and pressing in, because we get to seek the Lord. We get to seek his favor. And we get to please him. So let's worship now. Let's respond however you need to respond. Thank you, guys.